Welcome to Not Factory Approved, episode 91B. I will be talking about the ongoing adventures with the Pedestal table made from scrap wood for the most part, and I hope you enjoy. There will be one further episode after this, and then you will see the completion of the table. Thanks for sticking with me. So I'm going to set this slider on the bottom. So you got to remember, as I didn't, that it has to go this way, because that's the way it's going to fit down inside, is like that, right? So you want the opening here, can't be this wide, it has to be this wide. So do it this way, and I couldn't measure everything, but what I'm going to do is just keep doing this until I get it in the middle, like that. Okay, that's pretty close. So now I have my distance marker. So I'll set up the blade accordingly, and then I have to make sure that I have enough material left. Otherwise I have to cut this track down. So let's see what's next. Now to set this up. So I do it like this, I get the width of the track, and I can set the height. That's just protruding a little bit, so that's good. But if I leave it there, I now end up with a groove that is the width of the saw blade, minus the angle, wider on each side, which is going to be way too loose. So I have to actually pull this up and get it so that it's square. So I'll put this back in, right to the edge, put that there, and now I will adjust the track, the guide, to the right distance. So, here we go. So that. Okay, so now, check it. That against the blade, making sure that I find the tooth that is the most this way towards the camera, because they're staggered. You go one way and then the other way. So here it is here. And this should slide in there. Okay, looks like it's good. So I'm shooting for about a 32nd of an inch total wider. So let's see what that does, and then I'll check how much material is left. But I should have enough left because I laid the track on here and I had about a 1/4 of an inch. So let's see what it actually looks like when I start cutting. Almost forgot, I have to add this distance here to the fence, cutting fence. That will move the blade from cutting this way over here, just where I've got it now, out to that edge. Just to show I've been working, that's the detritus from today's work. If you can't do good work, just make a mess. That's progress. Look at that. This is my edge for the router. I'm routering out where the part of the locks go. And then I'll have to cut the groove here afterwards. I've got this ready to go. Start getting put back together. The idea being that I have 2 of these for the rails. They're held on with 1-inch dowels that won't poke through. They'll just be recessed. Then I'll build the box around here, and that will hold these pieces, which will be the supports. So then that will go inside the box like that. and slide out when the table is extended. And then the runner goes in there, which will be, the inside piece will be attached to the box, which is this, and that will slide inside like that. And then this edge here is what will attach to the fur box that holds that, so it can't swivel too much. And then there'll be a third one down below, which is smaller, just to add a little bit of stability. Same idea, 1-inch dowel, probably somewhere around there, to figure out exact spot for ankle clearance. Somebody doesn't bash their shin as well. And that's the idea. Then this piece here, once I've routed it, will go on top of this pedestal. And I'll make two exactly like that. And then we should have a base for the table. Here is the top plate for one of the pedestals. I've inset these. My routering job is way worse than I expected. Fortunately, that's all hidden. And I didn't recess quite enough in some of these holes as well, but it is down below the surface, especially with these sliders. I bought nylon drawer slides, and I cut them at the 90 degree and used them. And miter countersunk the holes, and just be careful you don't over tighten these, because it'll split and it makes it arc up like that. That one has to be loosened a bit yet. The idea is these will be to the tabletop, screwed into the tabletop here, and then the tabletop runs across here. This is attached, so when you slide it one way, these hook in there, and then there'll be a second hook on the other side. So if you want more overhang for somebody to sit on one end, then that one slides in. And this is the center guide. There will be a piece of wood in here attached to the tabletop, just so it doesn't move side to side. And that will keep everything in line for these hooks. So that's the idea. So I've done one of these complete. Now I'll do another one. And then I'll attach these to the top of the pedestals, which are over here. There's some various pieces of wood on them. And then this one here. And we should have a base, except for I still have to make the boxes that will hold the guides. One thing I neglected to say was that I'll have to make a shim here for the tabletop. Because of these sliders, it will now pull this up too tight and it won't latch. It'll bang against that bar. So I'm going to make this, shim this up just slightly more than the thickness of this, which is about 1/16 of an inch. So these pieces are ready to go on now. Mark things off. So here's the dowel that's going to hold it. Goes into that hole there. So this, I've made these 2 1/4 deep, and I want 1 inch into the pedestal, which I set the drill press for a 1 inch cut, because I don't trust myself. If the drill binds and catches and starts digging in, it'll be through before I shut it off, since there's 1/2 inch and it's got 1/4 inch feeder tip to it, so not much to play with. So I have about 1/2 inch left that has not been drilled. I'll put that in, glue it, drive the whole thing together, mark the second one first, and then make the pieces. So this is 2 1/4 deep. This goes in 1 inch into the pedestal. I left 1/8 of an inch. So instead of 3 1/4, I made it 3 1/8. Just to make sure it doesn't bind inside, and then I'm stuck trying to get it apart and drill a deeper hole. looking at the rail, I have to mount this onto the pedestal, which meant a 1-inch hole for the dowel. Of course, because the track is here, and I really couldn't do it any other way. I had to run the track right through because I couldn't do it with the table saw part way. It keeps flaring off to the side, so I'm going to have to make a plug to fit in here, about 3 inches long. And then I'll make a 3-inch hole, put the dowel in, and that will mount it to the pedestal, which is over there on the bottom end. So here goes, and then I'm going to do something Mickey Mouse with the drill press. All I can say is don't try this at home. So I've got it bolted through the 2 holes here with this bolt. I've turned it around by loosening these, taking these 4 out and spinning it. I've got it clamped with a C-clamp here. I've got it lined up perfectly with the hole. And I've got to try and make sure that this is even with the other pedestal, or it's going to be very hard to slide it together. That's the tricky bit. I think I've got it, but you know how things go. So here goes. So I'm going to have to drill this down 3 inches. I've glued this piece in. It's a 3-inch piece. So let's see what happens. Oh, I got to take the guide back up because it's set for 1-inch depth. I got to put the stops back up. They're set for 1-inch depth. Here goes. Oh, you have to plug them in first. The basic problem. You got to plug in the correct cord. That's another problem. That's all we can do, so the rest is going to have to be done with the drill. I should really have a freestanding drill press. This one only goes down like 2.5 inches. Now the tricky bit is getting this all lined up so it's square and the dimensions are the same. So that's what that fancy little jig here is for. The last piece will dry in position. So I've got 19 7/8 from edge to the top edge of the lower beam, and I've got 19 7/8 from the bottom edge there, which is the same thing which I've got over here with these 3. So in theory everything is lined up. The proof is yet to come. I have a feeling this is an easier way to do it. I just stood it up on end and tried to use the pedestal some weight, clamped everything up so that to make sure that the pieces all line up. You can see here, that'll slide, that will slide, and there's another one in here. You can see it, that will slide. So let it set, continue. So progress thus far. I'm taking this 1/2-inch plywood, I'm going to put that on the top with because of the dimensions of the boards I've got, which are offcuts. This is going to be 3/4 inch fir on the outside edges. This will not be visible from outside unless you really get down on your knees. So I'm going to use that on top, build the box, 3/4 inch fir. I'll probably have another 1/2-inch piece underneath, and then a 1/2-inch piece on the inside where it's not visible either. though I might make that heavier because the runner has to go on there. So I haven't really decided on that one yet. But I've cut this for 3/4 inch each side, so I'll leave it there for now. If I have to cut it down, I will. So these are the rails. They line up pretty good. I don't think that'll be a problem. So I have one piece cut for here and the outside edge on the other side. And then I have the two pieces, because of the dimensions of the wood, I have the two pieces for this cut. And now I have to do the top. So I'm going to use 1/2 inch plywood for that as well, and we'll just stain everything. I'm going to make a recess within the 3/4 inch to hold the plywood, and then I'll screw it down. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to fill the screws, countersink them, or exactly how I'm going to hold it together, but cross that bridge in a minute. To reveal another mistake I've made, and I've been making a few of them lately, this bottom rail I wanted horizontally. It was better for the feet. But when I was cutting the tracks in these supports, I actually cut that one on the bottom. So I can't turn it sideways because then it would be, the track would be visible. So it has to go vertically. So this piece is just over 6 feet long. It's just scrap that I had. So it works out quite well if I cut it in half. It's just a couple inches shorter than I'd like, which I really don't see being a problem. So I'll cut it in half, I'll put those in, and then I'll put screws in from that side, because I don't trust my measuring to put this exactly where it needs to be. And then I will attach this with screws from the hidden side. So here's the first tube done, the sliding rail. I have to take it off. It slides smoothly. It's a little sticky right at the end there. Otherwise, it works great. So I'll adjust that. I have to take this all off because I cut the offset here a little too deep. So I have to plane down the beam a bit. So easy to be just a little bit off. Now, in case you think everything is going wonderfully smoothly, what problems have I had so far? Well, I've had some split wood from screws. I guess I didn't drill this one out before I put the screw in, so I had to drill it out some more and then chisel some of this off. I had to readjust a couple of the tracks inside. I had to sand out the grooves in here, a couple of them. I've had to plane off the end because it doesn't fit properly. Fortunately, that's hidden. I think that's about it for today. So it's not always perfect. Sometimes there's a bit of adjustment. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, or even notify, or any of the above, or all of the above. Thank you.